Hello, Victoria here with Lead from Home, a great place for resources for anybody that is interested in um, increasing their visibility with their online students and their consumers. Well, or tech issues to ramp up or gamify your classroom with virtual backgrounds, interactive backgrounds, and a lot of neat tools to help increase student learning and engagement. Today, we are going to be met by a friend of mine for many years who happens to be a trainer in the with the preschool age students or learners, right? This is early learners, and she's going to share with us a little bit about what it's like to teach in that age group, and also what she trains other teachers to look for and how to help them. So we'll be joined by her shortly. In the meantime, I have a challenge for you all over the next couple of weeks on Sundays, we are going to be doing live interviews. So if you have an idea of something that you would like to hear or learn more about, please feel free. Go ahead and jot us a little note in the chat box, leave us some comments on the videos, and we will try to make that happen. We also have a realtor that's going to join us later on, early December. I know it's just next week. Oh my gosh. In the next 2 weeks, we're going to be chatting with our friend that is going to share with us some ideas and some incentives that you may be eligible for or you may qualify for as an educator. This can be an online educator or a brick and mortar classroom teacher. So let's think over the next few weeks as well, because it's the holiday season and I absolutely adore holidays. We're also going to be talking about ways to increase engagement through things that we like, how to make those connections. So, for example, I do have a holiday themed series coming up, and this is what I'm trying to introduce. Oh, look, I'm blue. Is that we're going to celebrate, we're going to share sips on Saturdays. So what I call sips is at the beginning of our, hi Ashmin. She's here already, so let me finish up what I was going to say. So we have the sips, share sips on Saturday. When we share sips on Saturday, we are going to post a recipe for a drink, and you can add alcohol, take away the alcohol. These are going to be flexible, but they're going to be holiday flavored, holiday themed, and they're going to just be something that we can share together while we talk. This will be on Saturdays at 10 a.m. And we're going to talk about stories and songs and things that help keep us connected in the classroom. All right. So I am looking forward to this. Our first session, our first Saturday is going to be the first Saturday in December. And I'm really excited about that. We're going to have lots of great things that will help us get this holiday spirit, keep our engagement up during this time. All right. Let's see. All right, let's have Ash join us. Hello. How
I'm trying
are
to make sure
you?
y'all can see me.
Oh yeah.
I'm doing good. This is really different for me, but I'm doing well.
I love your shirt.
Yes, I wore this because since we're talking about things that we can do to engage I'm trying to see if y'all can you see the shirt? Things that we can do to engage the online learner. I actually have read the Fraggle with me. Yes. And so I kind of wanted to go in theme.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, one of the things I usually give people right away is give people just a little bit of yourself if you're going to be teaching online. Give them just a little bit of yourself. I am a person who loves Fraggle Rock, and Red Fraggle's
Yeah.
my favorite. So I usually keep her back here. And plus, I just did a training on puppetry on Thursday night.
Yes.
So my background is set up for what I was training for. So yeah.
Oh, perfect. I saw baby Yoda there. Is that who I saw as well?
You did. Okay, I'm trying to find if you can actually see my background. All right. So the training that I had on Thursday night, I don't know. Okay, so yes, that is Baby Yoda.
Mhm.
It's a little different than Zoom. But yeah,
Oh, yes.
and I had a question for the people on the training. It was a poll question that I put in because one thing about me is I try to engage the learner every 10 minutes in a
Yes.
training, because after 10 minutes, the oxygen in the brain cells start to, and people start to zone off and go into their different world. Exactly. And so every 10 minutes, I kind of throw something in there to keep them engaged. And so the question that I set on Thursday night was, how much do you think it costs to make Baby Yoda? So I can play with you now, Vicki, right?
Yes, you can.
There we go.
Absolutely. I'm
All right.
ready.
So A, do you think Baby Yoda cost $800,000? I'll just give you three. $800,000, $4 million, or
Wow.
$5 million. How much do you think it costs to make Baby Yoda?
Oh, 5 million?
Exactly right. It costs $5 million to make Baby Yoda. Exactly.
Wow.
Yep. Yep. So
And
what I'm thinking, I wonder how much some of the other puppets were, like in the Dark Crystal and things like that, because that was
yes,
a significant movie.
it
Exactly.
was. And the puppets that you referenced in Dark Crystal, they were manned by people. They were actual puppeteers, three
Mm-hmm.
people for some of the larger puppets.
Yep.
I that is a fascination of mine, is the gift and creativity that went into creating those things.
Right.
And how do you include some of those things that you enjoy in the classroom, or even when you teach or share your information with others?
Well, I think that the trainers that I have, the trainees that I train, I train childcare providers. So basically, I'm training them how to, um, I would say, like, have fun in the classroom. We do have some serious
Yes.
health and safety trainings, but my favorite are the ones that bring bring things to life for them. So what I might do is I might tell them about one story, and then there's so many different ways that you can tell that story, right? Or
Yes.
so many different ways that you can represent that story to your children in the classroom. Another thing I like to do is talk about extension activities in the home. And just a personal thing about me, I love history. I love digging deep into things. Like, I don't just look at Baby Yoda. It's like, oh, that's cute. I want to find out how much.
Right.
I want to find out more. How many man hours did it take for them to be on set with this? So I think that's what people know about me. I think that when they come to my training, they know that they're going to get history. They know that they're going to get information. Um, and they know they're going to have fun. And so I really want
Yes.
that to be like a main part of my training. So I try to keep things in mind just about the brain and how the brain works, and at what points people will get bored, and try to throw some things in there to get them up, moving, or get their mind moving and thinking into different ways.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so important when we're talking about early learners. You mentioned every 10 minutes, but I wonder if when it's an early learner, preschool age, how much sooner that attention span kind of drifts when it's an early learner.
Well, the thing is, it kind of depends. And my rule of
Mhm.
thumb is, if you're doing circle time, I hate the
Mhm.
circle children, I try to keep it no longer than 10 minutes. Um,
Right.
because at the end of the day, you want to work off of their attention span, and children's
Mhm.
attention spans are not very long. Also, within that 10 minutes, I try to encourage teachers to have different movements in there. So you will have a song, you will have a finger play, you will have a story, you will have time to get up and dance and move. I
Yes.
just think it's really important to include all those things in that 10-minute time span, so that they're not just sitting there. Um,
Right.
Really important, really important. And it's different when you're training online. So I try to
Mhm.
incorporate those things in my trainings online, and try to help the teachers understand the importance of that.
Oh, God. Yes, I'm a very kinesthetic learner, so I'm hands-on. Even though I use a lot of background stuff, I have my 2D props. I
Yeah,
have everything is within arm's reach. And just like you, I have my bookshelf
me
with
too.
all of my tools. And knowing that if I'm teaching online, I can quickly Google or access something that maybe the learner has prompted in my mind, that you know what, this would be perfect for them. For example, if we're studying space for a little bit of an older
Right.
learner, I want them to know, how old are you on Mars?
Mm-hmm.
So that they can make that relationship with rotation and the distance between that planet and the sun, and how we calculate days. So I really like those ideas of making connections. And now that we're going into the holiday, I wonder how do we share a part of ourselves in the classroom with any learner from early age on, let's say, or even adult learners.
Well, I think it's kind of like another thing I feel like that's important about not just sharing yourself is to build relationships with the children you work with. I was in a training yesterday, and this was for me. Actually, I was a trainee, and it was really great. She had a wonderful activity about putting post-it notes like on your wall with all the children's names that you teach, and
Oh,
write down the connection that you have with each child. And if there's a child on there that you don't have a connection with, find a way to make a connection with that child. I know when I used to teach preschool, there was not one, and to this day, I can remember the children by their favorite things. Like this child liked Barney,
yes.
or this child liked Elmo. This child loved going outside and finding bugs with me. This child loved talking about food. Like, those are the kind of things that you can build relationships with the children.
Yes.
And then they can even be the ones to make the choices for, let's say, a story. Like my little guy who liked bugs, maybe I would have him read The Very Hungry Caterpillar, or he could bring the book to us. I did want to show you some props that I had. I don't know where
Yes.
to go because I can take
Oh,
it anywhere.
yes. Yeah, oh, we can do props, we can do anything. I absolutely love making these connections, and I agree with you on finding out things that make that connection. What do they like? What do they
Mhm.
enjoy? What sparks joy for that
Yes,
student?
yes. Hmm.
What makes the eyes light up? And I love those notes when teacher to teacher, when they write that note. This student loves Legos. This student likes
Yes.
dinosaurs. Put them together, Legos and dinosaurs, if you have two students that like it, and then you can make sure that each of them are kind of celebrated. I think of it as celebrating the student in their learning journey, because
Exactly.
we're basically being invited in to foster
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
journey. So I really really love the way that you say making those connections. I will say that when we're teaching online, there's part of a platform, and I'll speak specifically to VIP Kid for any VIP Kid teachers out there, that we can code. We can actually put emojis. I don't really, I guess there's pros and cons to doing this. I like your idea of post-it notes, but in the system, in the platform, only visible to teachers, we can put the emoji like frozen, and we can make that connection. The student likes Elsa, and there's the Elsa emoji, or they like lizards or insects or something like that. We can put those emojis there. Um, there are pros and cons to that. One, um, we don't want to limit it to that. We want to constantly keep changing it and reevaluating. Just like we make the assessments, we should reevaluate those relationships and
Mhm.
rapport, because their interests change just as much as fast
Yes.
as ours do.
Mhm.
So yes, definitely. And I'd love to see some of the props that you have.
Okay. All right. So I will start with. Okay. So I do have a lot of books. We talked about The Hungry Caterpillar. I
Yes.
actually read this one for the classroom, but again, since you all are doing online learning, it might be a little difficult to bring this particularly to life. And so, for those of y'all who don't know about The Hungry Caterpillar, it's one of my favorite books by Eric Carle. One of my favorites to
Yes.
read for children, put it that way. And it's just a journey of a caterpillar, and at the very end, he turns into a butterfly. So
Yes.
what I suggest with this is that if you can find stuffed animals that go along with the books that you're reading, these are great, especially for infants and toddlers,
Oh,
because they're not going to be able to do the more intricate things that you ask of the older ones. To their developmental level, you don't want to give them
yes.
something that's way too hard
Advanced.
to understand. Yeah, they don't need to go that far. So this is one thing. I also like to collect little puppets that I find, and this one I like because it's not one of these kind of puppets. It's
Right.
love. And so if I can get my hand in here, this is for little hands.
Yes.
I like this one because, they can always participate. And I think that another thing to engage the learner in books is to bring the books to life, so to speak.
Yes.
And then this right here, I actually made this for a class that I taught community college students. But anyways, I used it in my preschool class because at the time I was teaching community college students and preschool teachers at the same time. I swear I wear 1,000 hats and spin a million plates. So anyways, I was reading the book, I chose 1, 2, 3 children. Two of the children, one held one end and the other one held the other. And as they read the story, where the holes are, they actually got to take the caterpillar and munch as it went along. And I made this from scratch. I always tell teachers, lamination is your friend. Cardstock is your friend. And this was just hand free drawn. And it worked out great because, again, they were able to bring that to life. Then in addition to that, we actually had real pictures of caterpillars and butterflies. And I love not just talking about the cartoon of it, but also bringing it to life. National Geographic Kids, I think it's Nat Geo Kids, has an amazing website that has so much great information about like habitats. And, you know, right now would be a great time to introduce children to hibernation. That whole concept of hibernation is so great right now. And they actually have a special area on National Nat Geo Kids where they actually talk about how different animals hibernate for the winter. This is a perfect time to talk about that.
It sure is.
So yeah, another thing you could do is have like bingo. And this is for the book Brown Bear, which I'm not sure if I have this on me right now. But yeah, so you can do bingo. So I created these bingo cards, and you know, the children can actually pick the bingo. And if you're doing it online, do you all use Zoom for yours?
So OutSchool uses Zoom, and many of the like homeroom, a lot of those platforms do. For those teachers that are teaching with VIP Kid or Palfish, they have an actual platform that is kind of like, you know, like a Zoom. But it's a one-on-one. So it would be you and me, and I could see you right here next to my face, and then we have the curriculum at the bottom. But I really like your idea of using those props. We can actually put them in a digital format and play them interactive and have the student, hey, choose this number, choose this color, and we can do it that way. It's a nice little brain break.
Well, that's what I like, is to have those brain breaks. All right, so I found the book.
Yay, Brown Bear.
Brown Bear, one of my favorites again. This book can be done so many different ways. You can sing it. You can use sign language while you do it. I have these bingo cards, like I said, that I make. And again, this is just an extension of the actual book. And then we can go even further. And if I can find all my little characters, I just printed these offline. And so, you know, there's the white dog, there's the brown bear. Here's the purple.
They're so cute.
So
yes.
It's nice to have all these extras. And I will tell you that when I was actually in the preschool classroom, I tested my children. And so I would make story baskets, and I would keep them in the reading area. And so it was nice to watch the kids kind of do their own thing. Like when nobody was watching, they take it out and mimic the book and all that. So
I love it. And that helps foster independent learning. Yes.
Very
and
important.
Exploration. Yes, as long as it's accessible to them.
Yes. And the other thing about that too is that, again, I talk about preschool because that's what I know, right? So coming out of age 2.5 to getting to the 3-year-old, they start moving from parallel play to playing with other children. I think when you are a preschool teacher, it's so important for you to help foster those relationships within the children as well. Like what you were saying, you can pair Dinosaur Child with Lego Child and see what they can do.
Right.
To foster those relationships, because some children don't even know how to make friends.
Believe it
or not, well, you know, I was the youngest at my group, and my sisters are like the elderly. And so, they are. And so, it was hard for me to make friends as a kid because I didn't know how to initiate those friendships. So a lot of times in the classroom, it was a teacher that would take me over to a group of kids and say, hey, Ash wants to play with you. You know, and I'd go over there all shy. And then finally I'll just like bust out of my shell. But I remember that as a kid, it was hard because I didn't have anybody to play with in my house. That was my own kid. So I would try to help foster those relationships with the children as well.
That's good.
Okay. Another thing. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Sure. No, I was just thinking in the online platform, say, for example, with OutSchool, where they have maybe a class of 5 and they're online, and right now that we're socially distancing, making those connections and pairs, that's a great tip that you just mentioned, that sometimes they need those encouragements, those encouragers. So maybe part of our preparation for a class, if it's going to be a group dynamic, then maybe we should take that initiative, send an email out. What is at least one interest, or even warm up with that? What is your interest? What is your interest? Oh, look at that high five, digital high five. You made the connection, and things like that. I really I really think that just those small things, those small steps really make a huge impact. And it doesn't take long at all, like you mentioned. It's just,
It does not take long.
yes.
It does not take long, but I think that, again, it's just, again, knowing where they are in their development is key to helping these children. It is such key, Another thing I did want to show you was this. I made this for, it's a Ziploc bag.
Oh, yes.
Storybook. And so I made this to go along with Brown Bear. So again, just like those kind of things, focusing on one author, because I have various collections in my house, like literally it's like a library. So I have books by Eric Carle. I also love of course, Ezra Jack Keats. He's one of my favorite authors. And again, I just recently had my puppetry thing. So one thing that I like to tell people is it doesn't even have to be fancy. This is just a spoon with like a little scarf. I got these are like bottle clothes. You know how nowadays they have bottles. And so I buy them for the purpose of training. But then I also have a bearded dragon that likes to wear these clothes as well, which is fine.
Oh, yes.
So, anyways, this was like an example of Peter. And so you can use just like, this is not even expensive. This is less than $3, I believe. And I like to buy things on discount. And then what a wonderful story to talk about the snowy day with the child, especially now that the seasons are changing and it's getting cold, depending on where you are. And just a little history. Did you know that this book actually broke the color barrier in children's literacy? And this is actually on the 100 top stories of all time, children's books of all time. And I want to say Ezra Jack Keats has 2 of them on there. Other thing I do is I like to tell teachers and parents to go to the website of the author. Authors' websites have such great resources that you can either print off, things that children can utilize in their home. And then again, you can get a deep dive into who the author is, what other books do they have. This is another one, A Whistle for Willie. Very cute, where he's trying to learn how to whistle the whole time, and his little Dotson dog. So this is actually another one of the authors that's a go-to for me as well. So just exploring different authors.
I absolutely love your choices in books. I choose books for young learners because of the colors and the images and also the story. Does it have an impact? Is it going to teach something beyond the storyline? Is it going to share something is it going to make a connection with the learner or even with the parent? Because sometimes we forget about the parent in the online platform because we're face to face with the learner, but the parent is actually part of the journey. And you said earlier about extensions beyond the classroom, and it's kind of like what you have here. You have groups of a book series, and it goes beyond, and you can, because you have everything accessible to you and to the student, you can easily say, hey, this is let me show you something. Today or this week we learned about the hungry caterpillar. So we learned fruits, we learned colors, we learned metamorphosis, we learned changes. And maybe if you see something, this might be why they're looking at these things. And we learned these words. So I really like the way that conversation extends beyond the classroom. I love it.
I definitely tell the trainees that I like to talk to them about extending it to the actual parent home, because it's a circle, right? You got the child, and then you've got the child is in the center and everybody's on the outside, and we have to be a team. And I think it only works best if we are a team. So Hungry Caterpillar Fruit Salad was another one. I did kind of want to talk about this book for a moment. I love this book. I actually met the author, and this is my signed copy, y'all.
Oh, this is my favorite book ever. It really is. Tell me more.
Okay, all right. So she has an excellent Facebook page, great website, all that. She's so nice. Her and her husband are the nicest people in the world. Okay. So this book I learned about because my child's classroom teacher was talking about filling their buckets. I ended up going to a conference here in the state I live in, and I met the author. She was all by herself. Nobody was around her table. And I was like, can you tell me more about your book? So she did. They have so many resources you can buy. It's not just this book. I bought the book for the infants and toddlers. It's a board book. I bought the book for the older kids. I bought the journal. So many different items. I just went crazy that day at that table. I was like, I want it, I want it, I want it. But not only did I buy it, I actually teach this as well.
Yes.
So intros. So the beginning, if you're teaching something online, one of the things I do is I like to bring the learner in at the beginning, right?
Yes.
One of the things that you could do, and I've done it before, is ask them, have you filled someone's bucket today? I first will read the book and I ask them, have you filled someone's bucket? We do talk about bucket dippers sometimes because it's a reality of life.
It is. It absolutely is.
It is. And so I'll ask, have you done something to fill somebody's bucket, or has somebody done something to fill your bucket? I choose one of the two and I go with that. And again, I'm talking about teachers in the classroom. So I can take it to where, have you filled a parent's bucket this week? Has somebody filled your bucket this week? So that's how I use this book to train. I've also had buckets that I've drawn. Well, back when we would do face-to-face, right? I would draw big and provide Post-it notes, and people would put their stickies on there of how their bucket was filled. I've actually created buckets for school agers that had a lot of bullying going on. So, I've read this book to them, and the children actually, I let the bucket stay there by itself. And I said, if you want to, you can go and, fill it out, whatever, because they're older and they can write. And it was just so nice to see those school agers actually participate in that. And then one of them came and she was like, something in the bucket. Are you going to read it? I was like, sure. So I was able to go over there. But yes, this book is by, let's see, Carol McLeod. She's super nice. This is my signed golden copy. I
know. I have a couple of those too.
Yeah, exactly. Super sweet. And then, like I said, you can start teaching bucket filling from the time that they're infants. It's just the language that you use. It's a language that you integrate with the children while they're in the classroom, even if they're crawling. Well, turn them to each other to talk to one another.
Can you share a little bit about it? I'm familiar with it, and I absolutely love it. As a matter of fact, 2 weeks ago, I interviewed a friend of mine also who is an educator, and we talked about how important it was to create a circle of support, create an environment that really nurtures who you are as a person creatively, your mind, your energy. That way it's always there, and to recognize those things. So what is it that we are allowing in our bucket? What can we filter it, and what kinds of things can we do to help others and uplifts? Basically, I call them uplifts. But can you tell us a little bit more about this concept about filling someone's bucket? I really like this.
I think that filling someone's bucket is something that can be as simple or as complicated. I kind of feel that if you're a person that just recognizing, noticing where someone needs a little bit of an uplift or a little bit of help. I'll tell you an example that happened to me recently. I was overwhelmed at work, which sometimes we are. That's human nature.
Right. It is.
My coworker, she just literally offered. She was like, well, do you need me to take a project for you? I'll be more than welcome to. I was like, actually, yes, that would help me so much. So that was a huge bucket filler for me. And even though we're not face to face, she recognized on the phone that I was overwhelmed. And I think that just knowing, again, that's where it goes back to that relationship, knowing the child, knowing the parent, knowing your other educators that you work with. It's so important to build that relationship, to know what could be a bucket filler for that child for the day or for the parent.
And you made it, you said something so profound. I think it's profound. And I think it's something that that we kind of overlook, especially in the digital area, is we want to be seen. We want to be heard. And sometimes we forget to speak up or to use our voice to say, I need help. And you mentioned that it was just the recognition. She made that connection with just knowing who I was and hearing it in my voice. And that said something to me, and my heart sang. I love it when people make my heart sing. My heart sings all the time. But let's think about one good thing. See, if you're even thinking about it too, like, oh, okay, I get it. Let's think about one thing that happened today. And I know that with my older learners, and we're talking about your, like you call them, school agers or your teenagers. They can use certain languages, and I teach online language learning, so the language can be a little tough sometimes, but they can make those connections that you're talking about. They can I say, what was one exciting thing? What was one fun thing that happened to you today? And let's start class that way. I really like the idea of bringing in the language from that story, and I'm going to revisit it. That's my challenge for this week. Revisit the book, How to Fill Your Bucket, or Have You Filled a Bucket? There are several in the series. There are some, like you said, there are some for early learners, and I think I was teaching when I was with um, oh gosh, I was with middle schoolers for
Mhm.
about 2 years, and that was the book that we used, was how to fill your bucket. But I really like that idea, and I'm going to revisit it so I can reframe some of those sentences that I'm asking when I introduce my classes. Did anything exciting happen for you today?
Oh, are you asking me?
Yes.
How do you think? Well, this is exciting. This is honestly, this is exciting.
Oh,
It's my first time being on YouTube. I was like, oh my God, what do I do?
yay.
I said, you know what? I'm just gonna be myself.
Yes,
This is me with a
yes.
little bit of makeup on, but this is me. So that's
Yes. And one of the, I think I like, I go through the whole day, and there's just a lot of things little things that make me kind of like, oh, when somebody does something that you don't, that kind of you're not looking forward to. Say, for example, oh, I actually like to do the dishes, and to do some of those things, but sometimes I know it's because I put on Christmas music, and then I'm there, and I can look outside, and
yeah,
so, but
could see that.
yes, but when somebody moves something out of the way so that it's no longer an eyesore, and you're like, I can't move it because it's not mine, or something like that. Little things really during the day really make a big difference. And I like this idea of making those connections with our students, and then not just for them, but for us as well,
Mhm.
sharing it. And because we're constantly modeling this, we're constantly showing how to overcome, to do these things, and I think that it can still be done in an online platform, and I love these ideas. I really do. I think they're engaging.
I love the idea. Do you want any more? Because I've got a little bit. I don't know how much time I have.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see
Okay.
it.
All right. Okay. Let me see what else I got here. All right. Now, well, I don't know. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to pick you up a good one. I've got so many sitting here. All right. So here's another thing that I've done before, is just using props for story times.
Yes.
And this is We're Going on a Bear Hunt book. And so they go through the wheat field, they go through all these different shenanigans throughout the story. And so I hosted myself and my coworkers, we actually hosted a literacy day pretty much at the library. And so all the parents that came got this. Now, this is a little wrinkled. It was cuter before.
Oh, that's okay.
So we gave these to the families. Here's your very own Going on a Bear Hunt story kit. And so they got all of these items, and I took pictures of where they could use the different props. And so this is the camera. Take pictures with your camera. There are these where they're just walking up the tree, down the tree. And again, this is some good stuff for like fine motor,
Yes.
those kind of things. So again, always thinking about the development of the children.
And the learning styles.
And the different learning styles.
Yes.
So I have to have to talk to me as a child. Because them just reading it would have been okay, but like for me to have something. So this is the wheat field.
Yes.
And it's literally Mardi Gras beads inside, so if it breaks, it's weird.
Right.
And then our little bells. So this was going through the water. Because I felt like this kind of has a. So, anyways, I like incorporating things like this with books also. And I'm gonna tell you, when I did this story for the kids at the library, the 2-year-olds, I would have thought it would have been the older. The 2-year-olds got their bag and they were just shaking and shaking. And they were watching me so well. The parents were like, again. So I ended up reading twice, and which was fine. My little 2-year-old, she was just getting down and having the time of her life. And I loved it. And then again, this was something they could take home and do as a family. And so I really liked the parents can get a glimpse into a different way of telling a story, a different way of these tools. And I told some families, if they want to hold the egg the whole time, it's okay.
Yes, if they want to shake it for everything, let them shake it.
Fine. Let them shake it.
they're going to take their own cues. That's how they're
Mhm.
making the connections.
Again,
We
it's
can model them. Yes, we can model them. They can pick up what they want, and that's the gift of literacy. I love books. I'm a huge fan, and if I could keep every single book that I ever touched, I would. But I can't. There's only so much space.
right. Oh, I hate that.
But I like the idea of sharing books and not just sharing books, because I think books can be personal. But like
Mhm.
you said, you can tell one story so many different ways,
Anyway.
and they mean different things, with the different ways that you change it. Say,
Mhm.
for example, you change the tone, the rhythm, a normally happy story can end up taking on a little deeper emotional
Right.
meaning. And another one can be switched, or when you chant, you can focus on language learning and just really different things that we can use stories. It's just a huge way to make those connections. And I love the idea of just bringing them into the online platform. There is nothing that says that we can't do it. I mean, there are slide stories. There are, we have our audio, we can make those changes. Oh, is that a bee?
It is. I am listening, but I want to make sure you see all my stuff.
No, I do want to see everything. I can kind of see it, and your stuff looks not. You have a thing just like I do. Oh, you
Yeah,
can't
tell me
see
now,
it.
what is that one? That's the sun?
This is the sun. I
Oh,
use cake pops. Like,
oh.
so, oh, well, my camera is acting a little funny, but I use the 3D stickers. And
Oh, what a good idea.
yes, 3D stickers, and then I have old scrapbook paper. Like I said, when you work with students or young, you always have like,
I have
yes,
something, yeah. You
yes,
always have to make random, yeah.
and so you make it connect. Oh, I'm so sorry. This is my kite. It's got the ribbon, and just a hole punch there.
I
Um,
like the 3D stickers though. I'd not thought about using
Oh
those.
yes, and then I have them either on magnet, like a little
Okay.
magnet, so that I can just pull them. Like I have this dry erase board that's right here to my side, and then
Okay.
I can just, what color is your favorite color?
Oh,
What,
yeah.
So I just like it because it can become a reward and things like that. I love the idea of the 3D props. If we're face to face, one on one, I like the idea of them touching it. Um,
Yes.
Getting a feel of it, because I myself, that's how I learned,
Mhm.
how the caterpillar moves like this.
I touch everything. I'm one of those people in the store. As soon as I walk by something that looks soft, I
Yes.
have to touch it. I'm like, and I keep going. Okay, so this one, like I said, I did a puppet learning one the other training on Thursday night, and so this was just I quickly put this one together. But this is just an index card, and this is another color index card with some tape on a straw. And so we were talking about I'm bringing home a baby bumblebee, that whole little song. And so we did this. And then this frog actually is from this book it's from another one of my favorite authors, Susan Middleton Elia. She does mixed textbooks. So they are Spanish and English, but it's more like Spanglish, And
Yes.
love this story. And so it tells you all the different words in English and Spanish, the translation
I
in
love
the
it.
book. If you're not familiar, but I like reading this. I used to do a bilingual story hour at the library with the children, and I always chose her books because I felt like if the parents were English speaking, this would be
Yes.
easier to translate the other part of the language to it. So we just used to choose these. Exactly. We would
Yes.
choose these books, and I would always have a craft at the end of each story I did. And this was one of the crafts. We actually made Sophie. Funny story is Sophie's brother was very handsome, muy guapo, and he got all the trophies all the time. And poor little Sophie never got one. And so she had to
Oh.
find her talent. And her talent ended up being singing. And so,
Oh.
I love the theme of this, that, everybody has a different talent. And like I told the parents, there's more than enough room in the sky for all the stars to shine. And I love
Absolutely.
telling trainers that. I love telling my educators that. That's why I love sharing with other people. Any kind of idea I have, I just share it because it's like, use it. It's fine.
Use it.
Okay, so
Yes.
here's my Sophie. And, it's just a paperback puppet. But when I did it with the children, And what's funny is I already had all this stuff in my house. So
Oh, it's
again,
not
when you work
funny.
with children, yeah, all these things I have. So like I use this to kind of go along with the story. I had some of the other props as well. And I just had the paper bags. I had felt scraps on their eyeballs. When the children made it themselves, some of the tongues were going off this way and eyeballs were all
Yes.
around here. And they were
Were
different
they
colors.
like three tongues?
Like 3 or 4 tongues.
Yes.
It was fine. It was, and like
Yes.
I told the parents, I got the parents in on it too. I was like, y'all can make your own selfie because I brought enough paper bags. And it's nice because when the parents don't have to just stand back and like watch the
Right.
children, you can see their creativity come through too. So I think
Yes.
sometimes sharing crafts or sharing activities with families is another way to kind of bring them into the learning experience as well. And I told them if the frog has 10 eyeballs, that's fine. That's how they see their frog, and that's okay. You know.
Yes. And that I absolutely like that. I I don't remember. Do you remember early education when you were in maybe early elementary, our early kinder or first grade? Do you remember those teachers or the experiences?
Yes, I do. I
Okay, you have a better memory than I do, but I have
yeah.
few memories, but I do. And there was one, and I'll share this. One experience was an art class, and we would be shown a picture. We were given any material that we wanted, and
Mhm.
you could just do that. And some of the creativity that came out of that, some of the design, some of the drawings that came out of that freedom was just phenomenal. And I can never say enough how appreciative I was of that, just being able to do what I wanted to do.
I think we probably had the same art teacher, to be honest. I think
We
we did.
probably did.
We did.
We did. And I know the
We did.
school, but we won't say it.
Yeah, we went to school. We've known each other a long, long time, y'all.
A
Yeah,
very
it was
long
the
time.
same art teacher. And like I remember that art class because it was very freeing and it
Yes.
really got me into being creative.
Yes.
And yeah, but one particular teacher, I want to say it was my third grade teacher, she brought every story to life. She read the Willy Wonka book and we watched the movie. And she would do like all kinds of creative craft activities in the classroom to go along with the books. And that's when I remember like falling in love with literature. I loved books always as a child. I was always with a book. But it was that, wow, you can really make connections. And like in third grade, that's when I really started to ask my family about like books that I could read and that came along with movies or cartoons. Like I started to do that a lot. And as an adult now, I love the audiobooks. I mean, talking about washing dishes and listening to music, I'm always listening to either a podcast or an audible right about now.
Yes.
Seriously.
I
So
do.
I'm
I do.
it's just like it's another way to read. And I mean, it doesn't stop me from holding a book still
Oh.
clearly, but it's just again, it's just another way of like
And you make a really good point. And this is something that I'm part of. If you love books, you're in groups that
I am.
celebrate books. I see. It just happens. We're probably in the same group too. It's just the world is so ready for us. But
Right.
one of the things that some of the most famous authors, and I won't name drop here, but when you read the books or listen to them, the biggest takeaway is that books were meant to be shared.
Mhm.
Stories began as the oral storytelling, the oral tradition, and that is how we make connections. That is how we learned truths. That is how we learned the things that made seasons.
Mhm.
Those are their origin stories, and it is important for us to share that, and that's how we learn. I like history for the same reason you do. It's a narration,
It
and
is.
I want to dig deeper. It's telling us something, and we want to know where we fit in that history. Where
Mhm.
where would we have been? What isn't in the story? Where
Mhm.
is that information, and where can I get it? And why isn't it in there? So there's
Exactly.
a lot of things that we are learning, and you can tell that we had the same like educators, early educators. But this is
True.
really important because it stays with the learner, and that is why we're making these connections and really trying to encourage bringing storytelling into the classroom, bringing a bit of who we are, whether it's our passions, our interests, our likes, or even our teaching style. Bring
Mhm.
that into the classroom to help make those connections.
Yep.
Oh, I love it. Well, I hope that we can entice you to come back and share some of your joy with us. It's been a
Yes,
great.
you can entice me to come back. This hasn't been that bad. Seriously, you've won my book for real today. Seriously.
I love it. I've got more to share, and I've got lots of great stuff coming in Christmas time or the holidays. We would love to see you back on here on a Saturday chat. As I introduced before, on our Saturday chat, we're doing sips and sharing on Saturdays. So we're just sharing just sharing kind of the Christmas traditions that we have at home and how we can incorporate them or share with others, being in the education platform or just, in the online world.
Well, let me show you one more thing, Teacher V. While you say something about holiday season, I did bring 2 more books to show you.
Yes, I love it.
I have the whole series, even the infant toddler books I have. But this is a good one for the holiday season. And one more. Actually met this author and it's been signed, The Legend of the Christmas Pickle.
Oh
and
my goodness.
We're actually putting a Christmas pickle on our tree. I'm gonna hide one of my sister's trees too. So
oh yes.
We're gonna
have learned about this. This is a real legit thing. The Christmas pickle.
It is. I didn't know anything about it until he told me, and then I've been researching it. I'm like, where has this pickle been my whole life? Is it a sweet pickle? Is it dill? Like, I need to know about this.
I had no idea about this thing. We were stationed in Louisiana, and one of our neighbors had a pickle in the tree, and they told us, "Can you find it?" And it was this big deal for us to find it because we were guests, and it was like a really big thing. Yes. And so I learned about the Christmas pickle that day. So.
It was from my actually it was from one of my coworkers' holiday parties last year. She did the Christmas pickle, and then the author just so happened to be in town, and he had this book, and I was like, "Look at the connection! I'm getting that right away."
Meant to be. It was meant to be.
So now I'm looking for the prettiest pickle ornaments to go on the Christmas tree. I want it to be like shiny, but not too shiny.
Yes, because you don't want to give it away. I mean, the one that I saw was glittery, a little bit of shiny, but you could not see it in the darn tree. It was so blended. Okay. But I do want to ask a huge favor. I want to share with anybody that's listening a list of the books that we went over today. There happen to be some of my favorites, so I love it, and some that I have never heard before, and I really want to share and bring it on. So I like I said, anything that you have introduced today, I would love to have it in our description box, and we'll have that for anybody else.
Okay, so do I type it in there now, or how would I do that?
You can just send them to me via email, and then I'll make sure that they're associated with this. And I even dropped up a little Canva note for anybody that's interested in some of the ideas that you expressed today.
Would you like me to take pictures of the different props that I made too?
Oh, absolutely. That would be great.
All right, I can do
that. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I told you it would be just a breeze, just 2 people having a conversation.
It wasn't that bad, but I get so nervous because I'm a perfectionist. Believe it or not, I am. Passionate about early childhood education. I do want to say that. I'm a huge advocate.
All right. Well,
it was nice talking to you again.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.